The Zetherian Council had long prided itself on control. Every star system, every fleet, every colony was under careful watch. No species had ever challenged their authority, none, except the humans. The humans were different. They were forbidden. The Council called it a rule written in silence. Humans are off limits. We do not harm them. No one could explain why, only that it was dangerous to ignore. In the edge of Zetherian space, a small patrol ship moved like a shadow through the black. Its sleek silver hull reflected distant stars as sensors scanned the empty void. The pilot, a young Zetherian named Telin, adjusted the controls and frowned at the readings. "Commander, there is movement," Telin said. His voice was calm, but held an edge of worry. On the screen, a small fleet of ships appeared, their designs unlike anything the Zetherians had catalogued. They were humans. Commander Voras, tall and imposing with dark, scaled skin, leaned over the console. "Humans?" he asked. He rarely spoke the word aloud. It was forbidden, dangerous. Yet here they were, approaching Zetherian space without permission. "They appear unarmed," Telin replied. "But their energy signatures are unusual. I cannot identify their technology." Two. Voras's eyes narrowed. "Unarmed or not, we cannot underestimate them. Alert the Council. Do not engage. Remember the rule." Telin hesitated. "Yes, Commander. But why?" Voras did not answer. The humans had always been a mystery. Ancient records mentioned them. Fragments of warnings passed down through generations. They had survived conflicts, plagues, and disasters that would have destroyed entire civilizations. They had advanced, yet remained unpredictable. The Zetherians had never dared interfere directly. And so the rule had been made: do not touch them. Meanwhile, the human fleet continued its steady course. Their ships were smaller than Zetherian cruisers, but compact, efficient, and strangely elegant. On board, humans worked quietly, monitoring sensors and plotting courses. They did not hurry, did not panic, but moved with a calm confidence. Aboard the lead human ship, Captain Elena Saris studied the Zetherian fleet, appearing faintly on long-range sensors. "They're watching us," she said, her tone calm but firm. Around her, crew members nodded silently. Humans were explorers, not conquerors. Their mission was research, to observe and learn, but always with caution. Elena activated the communication link. "Open channel," she ordered. The Zetherians did not respond. They never did. Humans expected this. In fact, the lack of response confirmed something. The aliens were cautious, perhaps afraid. Voras watched the humans' movements on the council monitors. He could feel the tension in the room as other council members gathered around. The humans were clever, and that made them dangerous. No one could predict what they would do. One of the council elders, Kirill, broke the silence. "Their fleet is small, but their speed and formation are precise. They are observing, not attacking." "Observation can still be dangerous," Voras replied. "Their technology is unknown. Their motives are unknown. And yet, we cannot engage. The rule forbids it." Kyrell nodded slowly. "Yes, the humans are off limits. But we will study them. Every movement, every decision. They are unusual." As the humans approached the inner system, Telin's ship moved closer, hiding behind a small asteroid belt. From this vantage, he could see the human vessels maneuvering with remarkable precision. One ship deployed small drones to scan nearby planets. Another adjusted its trajectory to avoid debris without hesitation. "They adapt quickly," Telin whispered. "No hesitation, no error." "It's unsettling." Voras's jaw tightened. That is why they are forbidden. No species can adapt like humans. No species can think like them under pressure. We watch. We do not touch. Remember this. Far below, on a small research planet, human scientists prepared automated sensors for deployment. They had no idea the aliens watched from afar, recording their every move. A young technician named Milo adjusted a probe to scan mineral formations. "This will tell us about the planet's history," he said, his voice full of quiet excitement. "Just remember, Milo," Elena said from across the room. "We observe. We don't interfere. Always follow protocol. We are visitors, not conquerors." The probe lifted and floated into the planet's thin atmosphere, gathering samples and sending data back to the human ship. At that moment, one of the Zetherian scouts made a mistake. Its sensors misread the probe as a threat and fired a warning pulse. The humans detected it immediately and, without retaliation, adjusted their drone's shields and moved out of the path. Back on the Zetherian ship, Telin cursed under his breath. They avoided it without even engaging. How is that possible? Kira looked at the display. They are clever. We have never seen this level of adaptation in another species. No species has survived our observation tests like this. Humans are exceptional. The council meeting ended with strict orders. No engagement. No interference. Just observation. Yet every council member felt a silent tension. The humans were more than clever, they were unpredictable, resourceful, and strangely fearless. As the human fleet continued its mission, the Zetherians remained hidden, watching. The humans explored planets, collecting data, repairing equipment, and navigating asteroid fields. Every move was precise. Every action measured. It was a display of discipline, ingenuity, and calm that even the seasoned Zetherian observers could not fully understand. Then, a small mistake changed everything. One human ship miscalculated and drifted into a restricted asteroid zone near a Zetherian outpost. Alarms blared across the Zetherian command center. "Commander," Telin shouted, "they've entered a restricted area. What should we do?" Vorus's eyes were cold but firm. "We do nothing. They are human. Do not touch them." Despite his orders, Telin felt a surge of tension. The human ship drifted among spinning asteroids, seemingly exposed and vulnerable. The Zetherian patrol could have easily intercepted it. But the humans maneuvered with precision, weaving between asteroids, correcting course, and emerging unscathed. Kyril watched silently. "See?" he said. "Even in danger, they survive. They adapt. That is why they are off limits." The council remained uneasy. Humans were unlike any species they had encountered. They did not follow expectations. They did not bow to authority. They did not panic. And they survived situations that would have destroyed other species. As night fell across Zetherian space, the human fleet set up a temporary observation station near the edge of the system. The aliens continued their silent surveillance, recording every detail. Telin could not shake the feeling that these humans were changing something in him, in all of them. They were clever, unpredictable, and unstoppable in ways the council had not foreseen. Elena stood on her ship's observation deck, looking at the distant stars. "We are visitors here," she said quietly. "We must learn, but not harm. We observe, but we respect. That is how we survive. Unseen." The Zetherians whispered among themselves. The humans were not a threat in the usual sense. They did not strike first. They did not attack. But their very presence challenged the rules, challenged expectations, and challenged centuries of Zetherian control. The council knew one truth: humans were off limits for a reason, and that reason was not yet fully understood. Far across the system, The first part of the humans' mission ended without violence. But the aliens had learned something crucial. Humans were nothing like they expected. And that alone was enough to stir fear, curiosity, and admiration all at once. As the stars glimmered in the endless void, the humans continued their quiet work, unaware of the tension they had sparked. They moved with purpose, intelligence, and respect, traits the Zetherians could not ignore. The rule was clear. Humans were off limits. And for now, that was enough to keep the peace. But the universe had begun to notice them. And the story of humanity's presence in Zetherian space had only just begun. The Zetherians watched silently as the humans continued their work. Every ship, every movement, every action was observed through the most advanced sensors. The Council could not understand how such small, seemingly ordinary vessels operated with such precision. "Commander Voros," Talin said, pointing at the holographic display. "They've begun scanning the moons of Verathia. The speed of their calculations, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. They're predicting orbital patterns almost instantly." Voros leaned forward, his scaled face shadowed by the flickering light of the hologram. "Yes," he said, slowly. "That is why humans are forbidden. They are unpredictable. No species reacts with such accuracy under unknown conditions." Chiral, the elder council member, spoke from the side of the room. "And yet, they do not act aggressively. They do not even threaten. They simply exist. And in doing so, they unsettle us." Far from Zetherian eyes, Captain Elena Saris observed her crew as they deployed a new scanning array over Verathia's largest moon. "Double-check the calibration," she said calmly. "We cannot afford errors. Zetherians are close, and they will notice everything we do." A young engineer, Liam, nodded and tapped at the console. "Calibration complete, Captain. Array is ready for deployment." Elena smiled slightly. "Good. Launch it." The array lifted silently into the thin atmosphere, unfolding like a delicate metal flower. It began transmitting data back to the human ship. Mineral compositions, atmospheric readings, magnetic fields, all were collected efficiently. Humans worked quietly, their focus absolute, unaware of the Zetherian scouts recording each moment. Meanwhile, in the depths of Zetherian space, not all was peaceful. A rogue Zetherian commander, Crixon, watched the humans' movements with envy and suspicion. He believed that the humans could be tested, even controlled, despite the Council's rule. "They are too clever," Crixon muttered to his aide. "Too careful, too cautious. It is time to see how they react under pressure." His plan was simple. Send a small strike team to provoke the humans. Nothing fatal, only a minor challenge to observe their reactions. Crixon believed it would prove humans were not as invincible as the Council feared. The strike team moved quietly through the void, cloaked in invisible energy fields. They approached the human fleet from behind, hoping to surprise them. Back on the human lead ship, sensors detected unusual energy fluctuations. Liam frowned at the readings. "Captain, something is moving behind us." Energy signatures. Small, but fast. Elena turned to the main screen. Her calm blue eyes narrowed slightly. "Show me," she said. The display revealed the cloaked Zetherian vessels, closing in with careful precision. "Noticed already," Elena murmured. "Prepare evasive protocols. But remember, no aggression. We observe, we respond, but we do not attack." The humans' movements were smooth, almost effortless. Tiny adjustments in ship speed, vector, and shield orientation allowed them to evade detection pulses and avoid potential collisions. The Zetherian strike team fired minor warning pulses, expecting to catch the humans off guard. But the humans were ready. They activated adaptive shields, redirecting the pulses harmlessly into space. Every move was calculated yet natural. No panic, no overreaction, only efficiency. On the Zetherian ship, Crixand's eyes widened in disbelief. They avoided every pulse. They didn't even fire back. How? Resourcefulness. One of his lieutenants replied. They are unpredictable, and yet careful. They respect the rules of engagement without needing them enforced. Crixand gritted his teeth. We cannot allow them to leave without a test. Increase the pressure. Surround them. See how they respond. On the human ship, Elena observed the encircling ships. They want to provoke us, she said, but we will not give them an excuse. Activate the decoy drones. Keep them occupied while we maintain course. Drones launched from the human fleet, small but fast, moving in patterns that confused the Zetherian sensors. Each drone carried simple holographic signals, creating illusions of additional ships. The Zetherians scrambled to track the moving targets, firing pulses at what they thought were real vessels. The humans maintained their composure, maneuvering their main ships carefully around the real threats. The situation could have been dangerous, but their preparation, teamwork, and adaptability turned it into a simple demonstration of skill. Crixand's face turned red with frustration. Impossible, he hissed. They cannot react like this. They should have panicked, should have made mistakes. Back on the Zetherian Council, Vorus watched the simulation of the encounter. He did not need to speak. The room was silent as everyone observed humans' behavior. They are exceptional, Chiral whispered. Even when provoked, they do not break rules. They do not attack. They simply survive and adapt. Yes, Vorus replied. That is why humans are off limits. Not because they are violent, not because they are weak, but because they are beyond prediction, beyond control. Any engagement would risk more than we understand. Crixand returned to his ship, fuming. He realized the humans were not to be trifled with. Their intelligence, creativity, and calm under pressure made them unlike any species he had known. Meanwhile, the human fleet continued its mission without incident. They repaired small damage to their own ships from asteroid debris, analyzed planetary surfaces, and documented Zetherian patrol patterns. Every crew member worked in harmony, each task completed with precision. Captain, Liam said, adjusting a sensor. I've completed the scan of Varathia's moons. Data shows several rare mineral formations. Zetherians will be interested if they notice this. Elena smiled faintly. Then we ensure our work is complete before they notice. Observation first. Respect always. That is how we survive and thrive. Later, as the human fleet set up a temporary observation post on a neutral asteroid, the Zetherians continued their surveillance from a distance. Talon, the young Zetherian pilot, could not take his eyes off the humans. They are clever and ethical, he said quietly to himself. Even when threatened, they do not attack. They do not retaliate unnecessarily. They are remarkable. Vorus nodded slowly, standing behind him. Remember this, Talon. That is why humans are forbidden. Not because they are weak, not because they are dangerous in the usual sense. They are off limits because they are beyond comprehension. One day, we may fully understand them. Until then, we watch. We learn. We do not interfere. As night fell across the system, the humans rested in their temporary stations. Unaware of the Zetherian scrutiny, they had survived the challenge, proving once again that they could navigate a universe full of unknowns without resorting to violence or aggression. And far across the void, the Zetherians realized something they could not ignore. Humans were not merely clever. They were resilient, creative, and ethical in ways no species had ever been before. They respected rules, yet were unpredictable. They avoided danger, yet remained bold. They were, in every sense, unique. The council remained uneasy. Humans had passed the first test, an unspoken trial of skill, intelligence, and morality. But the humans did so with grace, patience, and ingenuity. Chiral spoke softly to Vorus, almost to himself. They are not just observers, are they? They are something more. Perhaps they are a warning that the universe itself cannot contain them. Vorus did not answer. He only watched the distant lights of the human fleet, small specks of determination in the endless dark. The challenge had ended, but the humans' presence had left a mark. The Zetherians would continue to monitor them, and the rule remained clear. Humans are off limits. No one knew exactly why, and perhaps no one ever would. But one truth was undeniable. Humans were extraordinary. And in the quiet of space, as stars glittered like distant eyes, the humans continued their mission, unaware that the universe was already taking notice of them, and that the Zetherians' respect and fear had grown just a little stronger. The humans had settled into a quiet rhythm near the edge of Zetherian space. Their ships rested in orbit around a small, neutral asteroid, while teams of engineers and scientists deployed observation equipment across nearby moons and small planets. They moved efficiently, quietly, and with purpose, all the while aware that alien eyes were watching from afar. Captain Elena Saris stood on the observation deck of the lead ship, staring at the swirling colors of a nearby gas giant. She knew the Zetherians were close. Sensors had picked up faint energy readings, ships cloaked, watching, analyzing. Yet the humans did not panic. They never panicked. This system is more complex than we expected, Elena said, her voice calm. The Zetherians are cautious. They are watching us, but they have not approached. That tells us something important. Something good, Captain? Asked Milo, a young crew member who had quickly earned a reputation for curiosity and quick thinking. Elena smiled faintly. It tells us they are respecting us. We are off limits. That gives us a chance to learn without being attacked. Meanwhile, in a Zetherian command center far away, Commander Vorus and the Council observed the humans with increasing fascination. They do not act aggressively, Chiral said. They continue their work without interference. They respect boundaries. And yet, they are bold, precise, and capable. They are remarkable. Vorus nodded. We cannot underestimate them. They are not a typical species. Their behavior is unpredictable in a careful way. That is why the rule exists. Humans are off limits. We do not touch them. Crixan, the rogue commander who had attempted to provoke them before, still seethed. They survived my tests without even engaging, he muttered. No species could do this. They are extraordinary, and I want to see why. The humans continued their exploration. On one of the small moons, a team led by scientist Leora Chen discovered unusual geological formations, crystals that emitted faint energy signals. These crystals are unique, Leora said, carefully placing a scanning device on the largest formation. They could provide insight into the planet's history, maybe even the system itself. A junior scientist, Tariq, looked up at the sky. Do you think the Zetherians can see us? Leora smiled. Perhaps. But they will notice only what we allow them to see. We operate transparently but cautiously. That is how humans succeed. Respect and intelligence combined. Back on the Zetherian side, Tellin, the young scout, was growing more intrigued with each passing hour. They work without aggression, he said softly. Even when they could retaliate, even when danger surrounds them, they act with ethics. They do not harm unless necessary. And yet, they adapt faster than any species I've seen. Vorus, watching over him, added, Yes, that is what makes humans off limits. It is not their strength alone. It is their combination of skill, intelligence, and morality. We cannot control them. We cannot predict them fully, and we cannot risk interfering. As the humans gathered data from the moons and asteroid fields, a larger problem emerged. Sensors detected a rogue asteroid cluster moving rapidly toward the inner Zetherian colonies. The trajectory was unpredictable. But if left unchecked, the asteroids could devastate settlements and research stations. Elena studied the readings carefully. "This is serious," she said. "The Zetherians may not notice it until it's too late. We can help, but we must do it without interfering directly. We cannot attack. We cannot force them to cooperate. We must solve this carefully." Milo's eyes widened. "We could set up a diversion array, calculate the orbital shifts, and redirect the asteroids safely. Our ships can withstand higher forces than Zetherian colonies." Elena nodded. "Exactly. Prepare the calculations. We move carefully. Precision and planning. Nothing reckless." The humans worked through the night, adjusting trajectories, calculating gravitational pulls, and deploying small drones to influence asteroid paths. Each move was careful, precise, and intentional. From afar, Zetherian scouts observed, confused and curious. The humans had begun to act in a protective role, and yet their methods were unfamiliar. No alien species would have dared intervene in a system they did not control. Humans did it calmly, carefully, and without aggression. Crixon frowned at the display. "They are helping. Even now, they are not attacking or interfering for their own gain. How is this possible? No species has such restraint." "They are exceptional," Vorus replied. "Observe, learn, but do not interfere. That is the rule." After hours of careful maneuvering, the humans managed to redirect the rogue asteroid cluster away from populated Zetherian systems. The crisis was averted, and not a single life was lost. Humans had acted decisively, ethically, and effectively. Chiral, watching from the council chamber, whispered, "They saved lives without even entering the colonies. And yet, they changed the outcome completely. No other species could have done this." The humans returned to their observation post, tired, but calm. Elena looked out at the stars, a sense of quiet pride in her voice. "We did what needed to be done," she said. "No harm, no aggression, just intelligence, respect, and action. That is what makes us human." Back in Zetherian space, the council convened. "The humans are not merely clever," he said. "They are ethical, resourceful, and unpredictable. They saved our colonies without our permission, without violence. They are beyond our control, beyond our prediction. That is why humans are off limits." Crixan seethed silently. He had hoped to test them further, to expose weaknesses. But the humans had proven themselves beyond his calculations. Every attempt to provoke or challenge them had failed. Meanwhile, on the neutral asteroid, humans prepared for the next phase of their mission. Drones and probes were deployed to scan distant moons, gathering data about gravity, magnetic fields, and mineral composition. Each discovery was carefully documented and analyzed. Leora and Tariq worked side by side. "These readings could help us understand Zetherian defenses," Leora said softly. "Not to fight, not to attack, only to learn. Knowledge is power, but only when used responsibly." Elena nodded. "And responsible we will remain. Observation first. Respect always. That is our guiding principle. That is why we survive." As the human fleet rested for the night, the Zetherians continued their surveillance. Telene could not stop thinking about the humans' calm, careful methods. "They are extraordinary," he whispered. "Even when we challenge them, they do not break rules. Even when danger surrounds them, they act with morality and intelligence. No other species behaves this way. Voras looked at him quietly. That is why humans are forbidden. That is why they are off limits. We do not understand them fully. And perhaps we never will. We watch, we learn, and we do not interfere. In the quiet of space, the humans prepared for the next stage of their mission. Unaware of the growing respect and awe they had earned from one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They were explorers, researchers, and guardians in their own right. Their presence in Zetherian space was changing perceptions, rewriting assumptions, and challenging expectations without a single act of aggression. Kyrell summed it up best as he addressed the council. Humans are not merely clever or strong. They are moral, adaptable, and fearless. They respect life, even when faced with unknown threats. And that is why they are off limits. As the stars shimmered across the endless void, humans continued their work, observing, calculating, and learning. They had passed the first real test, the challenge of Zetherian scrutiny and the threat of cosmic disaster. The aliens watched, recording every detail, realizing that humans were a species unlike any they had ever known. One day, the universe would fully recognize their potential. And when that day came, the Zetherians, and perhaps every civilization, would have no choice but to acknowledge humanity's remarkable abilities. For now, the humans remained explorers, calm and ethical, quietly proving that intelligence, respect, and adaptability could overcome challenges that others might meet with force. And far across the void, Zetherian eyes followed every move, confirming what they already suspected. Humans were beyond comparison. They were off limits. And they were extraordinary. The humans had grown accustomed to the Zetherian surveillance. Every sensor reading, every minor adjustment to their ships or drones, was quietly recorded by the aliens. Captain Elena Saris understood the eyes watching them, but she never let it distract her. She had taught her crew that observation did not mean threat. Humans never sought to provoke, only to learn. Yet, not all Zetherians were patient or calm. Rogue factions still resented the humans' presence. Some saw them as a curiosity to control, others as a threat to their authority. Subtle challenges began to emerge. Small disruptions in the communication arrays, brief anomalies in supply lines, and minor obstacles that seemed to test human reactions. On board the human lead ship, the disruptions were noticed almost immediately. "Captain," Milo said, tapping the console, "some of our supply relays are acting oddly. Signals are being delayed, and some drones aren't responding as expected." Elena studied the data carefully. "Check for interference. I want full logs on all systems. Whoever is causing this is testing us. We do not retaliate. We adapt." The crew worked efficiently, tracking the anomalies. It became clear that someone or something was deliberately testing them, trying to provoke a mistake. Humans were careful and meticulous, and their response reflected both intelligence and calm. "They are trying to provoke us," Elena said softly. "We handle it like every other problem. Analyze, adapt, and respond without aggression. That is our strength." On the Zetherian side, Tellin watched the humans' responses with growing admiration. "They noticed the disruptions immediately," he whispered to Voras, who stood beside him. "And yet, they do not react with anger or hostility. They solve the problem quietly, carefully, without escalating the situation." Voras nodded. "Yes, that is why humans are off limits. No other species could remain so composed under provocation. They respect boundaries, yet they overcome obstacles with ingenuity." Meanwhile, the rogue Zetherian commander Crixon grew frustrated. "They are passing every test without even knowing they are being tested," he said bitterly. "How can a species survive every trick we throw at them and still come out better?" "They are extraordinary," Kyrell replied. "And ethical. Observe, Learn, but do not interfere. That is the rule. The humans continued their work on Verathia and nearby moons. Small scientific stations collected atmospheric and mineral data, while autonomous drones scanned distant asteroid fields. Every system was monitored, adjusted, and corrected with quiet precision. One day, while humans were deploying sensors on a small, icy moon, a subtle hazard appeared. A minor gravitational fluctuation threatened to destabilize the drone's paths. The team noticed the change immediately. "Captain," Leora Chen reported, "the drones are drifting slightly. If this continues, the data will be compromised." Elena studied the readings. "It's subtle, deliberate. Someone wants to see how we react. We adapt, recalculate trajectories, reinforce stabilization. Proceed carefully." End quote. Within minutes, the humans corrected the drift. Not a single drone was lost, and the data collection continued without interruption. The challenge had been met, calmly, efficiently, and without retaliation. In the Zitherian Council chamber, Voras observed the simulation with other leaders. "They adapt even under deliberate interference," he said. "They do not fight. They do not panic. They overcome the problem with intelligence alone. No other species could do this." Optum. Talon, still learning from the humans, nodded slowly. "They are not just clever. They are moral. They respect the rules, even when challenged. That is why we cannot touch them." While the humans continued their mission, subtle political tension brewed among Zytherians. Some argued that humans should be more strictly monitored, or even removed from the system. Others warned against interference, citing the Council's ancient rule. Crixan, still bitter from previous failures, proposed a new plan to force human action. He considered manipulating one of the moon's unstable terrain to create a hazard the humans could not ignore. Voras intercepted the communication before Crixan could act. "Stop this immediately," Voras commanded. "You will not interfere with humans. They are off limits. Do you not remember the last attempt?" Crixan seethed but obeyed, at least outwardly. On the human side, the crew prepared for another day of exploration. Captain Elena reminded everyone of their principle. "Observation first," she said. "Respect always. There will be challenges, unknowns, interference, obstacles, but we respond carefully, ethically, and intelligently. That is what makes us human." As they approached a small research asteroid, sensors detected a minor anomaly, a fluctuation in the asteroid's energy signature. The crew moved quickly to investigate, knowing it could be natural or artificial. Liam analyzed the readings. "It's consistent with minor interference, but nothing harmful. Whoever is testing us is subtle." Elena nodded. "Exactly. We respond, not react. Prepare drones, recalibrate sensors, and collect the data. We turn this challenge into opportunity." The drones moved smoothly through the field, adjusting to fluctuations in real time. Sensors recorded every detail. The humans corrected every anomaly before it could affect the mission. From afar, Zitherian scouts watched in awe. "They are calm under pressure," Talon said. "They never overreact, never escalate. And yet, they succeed where we expect failure. How is this possible?" Talon 7. Junrided give. Chiral smiled slightly. "That is humanity. They are off limits, not because they are weak, not because they are strong, but because they are beyond expectation. They are ethical, resourceful, and clever in ways we cannot fully predict." The humans completed the asteroid survey without loss or error. Elena stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "Every challenge is an opportunity," she said quietly. "We do not attack. We do not retaliate. We observe, we learn, and we adapt. That is how we thrive." Meanwhile, Zetherian factions continued their debate. Some feared humans might grow too powerful, too influential. Others argued that observation alone was sufficient, that humans' presence already taught lessons without direct contact. In the end, the Council reaffirmed the rule: humans were off limits. They are not merely clever, Vorus said during the Council session. They are unpredictable, ethical, and capable. Any interference could be disastrous. We watch. We do not touch. That is our only choice. Crixan, frustrated but defeated, retreated to his ship. He realized he could not test the humans further without breaking the Council's orders and risking consequences he did not fully understand. The humans, unaware of the internal politics, continued their mission. They deployed additional observation stations, scanned nearby planets, and studied the moon's geology. Every action was precise, every decision thoughtful. Even when subtle sabotage appeared, slight energy interference, communication delays, or minor navigational anomalies, the humans adapted. They solved every problem with intelligence and calm, never overreacting, never resorting to aggression. Elena gathered her senior officers for a meeting. "We have passed another test, even if we did not know it," she said. "Every obstacle we face proves one thing. Our strength lies in our ability to adapt, to act ethically, and to work together. That is what makes humans remarkable." Leora nodded. "Even when provoked, we remain steady. Even when challenged, we solve the problem carefully. That is our principle." Milo added, "And it works. The Zytherians are observing, and they cannot predict us. We are beyond their calculations, because we do not act like any other species." Elena smiled. "Exactly. That is why humans survive where others fail. Respect, intelligence, and teamwork. That is humanity." Far across Zetherian space, Telin continued to study humans. Every action they took impressed him more. "They respect life," he whispered. "Even when challenged, even when tested, they do not harm unnecessarily. And yet, they achieve everything we expected to be impossible." Voras nodded silently. "That is why humans are forbidden. They are beyond our understanding. They are beyond control. And they are extraordinary." The humans' mission continued without incident. They completed surveys, gathered rare minerals, and studied planetary atmospheres. Every challenge presented by the environment or by subtle Zytherian interference was met calmly and effectively. The Zetherians, despite their advanced technology and experience, could not fully predict human behavior. Every obstacle only revealed more of humans' unique combination of skill, morality, and ingenuity. As stars sparkled across the endless void, humans prepared for the next stage of exploration, unaware of the respect and awe they had earned from one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. And far beyond their reach, the Zetherians realized once again: humans were not merely clever or strong. They were ethical, resourceful, and unstoppable in ways the universe had never seen before. Humans were off limits, and that rule was more important than anyone could fully explain. The human expedition had been working in Zetherian space for many months. Every day brought new discoveries, new challenges, and new lessons. But all this time, they never knew how deeply they were being studied. They never knew how many debates, arguments, and decisions were happening behind the scenes about them. They only knew their mission: observe, learn, respect, and adapt. But things were about to change. A strange signal. One quiet morning, while the human ship Horizon Star drifted above a silver-blue moon, a strange signal echoed across their scanners. It was not Zetherian. It was not human. It was something unknown. "Captain Elena," Milo said, looking confused, "this signal is not on any chart. It's coming from the outer edge of this system. Nature or artificial? Elena asked calmly. Artificial, Leora answered, but very old. It's weak, like something that has been running for centuries. Elena looked around the bridge. Then we will investigate. Prepare a small team. Simple approach, no risks. As the ship changed course, the Zetherian observers immediately noticed. Tellin reacted first. They found the old beacon, he whispered. The one from the Silent Era. Voras nodded gravely. This will be their greatest test yet. The beacon of warnings. The human ship approached a small, ancient station, floating alone in deep space. Its metal surface was covered in cracks and dust. Its lights flickered weakly, as if surprised that someone had finally come. This thing is older than any Zetherian structure we've seen, Milo said. Elena nodded. Send a drone inside. I want full scans before anyone enters. The drone moved inside the structure. It passed through narrow corridors, old chambers, and control rooms filled with strange symbols. Everything seemed untouched for ages. Then the drone reached the core. Leora gasped. Captain, the recordings here show something dangerous. Something powerful. What kind of danger? Elena asked. Not active, Milo said. Historical. It looks like this beacon was placed to warn future explorers about a destructive anomaly that once passed through this region. Elena narrowed her eyes thoughtfully. If it's historical, then why is the warning still active? Because the anomaly might return, Leora said. A choice without fear. The Zetherian Council watched from afar. Chiral spoke first. The humans will soon understand the beacon's message. We must not interfere. This will show us their true nature. Crixan scoffed quietly. Or it will show they cannot handle it. Voras shook his head. No. Humans adapt. They will not panic. They will study. They will prepare. And that was exactly what humans did. After reviewing the beacon's data, Elena called her senior officers together. This anomaly passed through the system 800 years ago, she explained. It did not destroy everything, but it changed the gravitational fields of several moons. The Zetherians built this beacon as a warning for future explorers. Is it coming back? Leora asked. We cannot know, Elena said calmly. But we do know that the beacon is weak. It needs repair. If it fails, others might enter this region without warning. The room was silent for a few seconds. So, Milo began slowly, you want us to fix it? Elena smiled. Of course. It's the right thing to do. We came to learn, not ignore danger. There were no objections. The decision was simple. Humans would repair the beacon. Respect through actions. The Horizon Star released maintenance drones, tools, and energy nodes. Humans worked carefully around the ancient structure. They restored the power grid, reinforced outer panels, and recalibrated gravity sensors. Hours passed. Zetherians watched in awe. They are not doing this for reward, Tellin whispered. Not for power. Not for control. They simply saw something broken and chose to fix it. Chiral added, they protect others, even without knowing who might come here in the future. This is humanity. Crixan, for once, had nothing to say. When the beacon lit up again, bright, stable, and clear, the signal reached every corner of the system. Humans had restored something ancient. They had strengthened a warning meant for all. They had helped an entire region of space without expecting anything in return. Unexpected contact. For the first time since the humans arrived, a direct Zetherian transmission appeared on their screens. Captain Elena looked up in surprise. Put it through. A calm, deep voice echoed across the bridge. Human explorers of the vessel Horizon Star. This is Voras of the Zetherian Council. Elena stood straight. Greetings, Voras. We respect your space and your people. How may we assist you? Voras paused, as if choosing his words carefully. Your actions today show your true nature. You repaired the ancient beacon even though it served us. Even though it was not your responsibility. It was the right thing to do, Elena said simply. Voras continued. Humans are unlike any species we have ever observed. You do not react with fear. You do not seek power. You act with respect, intelligence, and consideration. The crew listened silently. For these reasons, Voras said, our rule remains unchanged. Humans are off limits. No Zetherian may harm you, interfere with you, or attempt to manipulate you. Elena nodded respectfully. We never wanted conflict. That is exactly why you impress us. Voras said. Your presence teaches more than any challenge or study. You do not force change. You inspire it. Telin stepped forward in the transmission. We thank you. You repaired a beacon that protected our ancestors. You showed kindness where many species would show indifference. We honor that. We honor that. Elena smiled warmly. We only did what felt right. Legacy beyond stars. With the beacon restored, the humans prepared to leave Zetherian space. The air on the ship felt light, as if everyone sensed the end of a long journey. Milo looked out at the stars. Do you think they'll remember us? Elena answered quietly. They already do. Our actions will stay in their records. Not because we wanted attention, but because we acted with respect. Leora added. This is what humanity is. We explore. We learn. We help. Where we can. The final transmission came from Voras. Humanity, he said. You leave behind a legacy of peace. You showed us that strength does not come from power, but from wisdom. Wherever you travel, know this. Zetherian space will always welcome you. The bridge was silent as the message ended. Then Elena spoke softly. Set course for the next system. Our journey continues. The engines of the Horizon Star came alive. The ship turned slowly, its lights glowing in the dark. As they moved away, Zetherian observers watched with quiet admiration. They are unlike any others, Telin whispered. Humans, Voras replied, are extraordinary. That is why they must remain off-limits. They are not a threat. They are a gift. A reminder of what peaceful strength truly is. And as the humans traveled into the vast stars, they carried with them a new legacy. A rule written not from fear, but from respect. Humans were off-limits. Because humanity had earned that honor.